Hi, I'm Amanda DiVito-Parle. Welcome to my podcast, At the Kitchen Table, where we guide, inspire, and connect. Today, my guest is my longtime friend, Denise Liebetrau. And Denise is an HR consultant. So your company is Prosper Consulting.
Yeah.
So I do want you to just back up for a moment and tell me how you came to own your own HR consulting shop.
Sure.
And maybe the quick summary progression, because we
how
could
I
talk
ended
about
up
all
there.
kinds of interesting stuff. So we shouldn't waste too much time on that. But how did you come to this place?
Yeah. So about 8 years ago, I left. I consider myself a corporate escapee. So I left the corporate world. I had worked for one of the largest gold mining companies in the world, and had been doing actually compensation work, which is a subset of HR, which is essentially where I was giving advice to senior leaders on how much they should be paying their employees. Mm-hmm. So giving them the boundaries of what they should be paying for someone in a certain location, doing certain work, like the project manager over a mine site versus maybe a marketing person or somebody in accounting, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And then I left that world and started my own business. And part of what I did was I still did, and I still do, projects for employers related to pay, but I also do pay negotiation coaching. So I teach individuals how to ask for more money from their employer. And I do that because I saw when I was in-house, I couldn't tell people what they were doing wrong. And so now I focus on teaching people how to ask in the right way.
So the broad business is human resources. The tight part of your business is
compensation,
consulting and coaching around
pay,
how people get paid.
Yep.
So you come from this corporate you are an escapee, and what compelled you to say, like, when you were leaving the corporate business, did you say, I'm going to start my own business, or did that end up happening as a subsequence of leaving?
So Newmont was going through a downsizing and reorganization, and so I had 6 months notice that I was going to get laid off. So I had a runway where I could look for a new job, consider being an entrepreneur, et cetera. And when I was interviewing, I wasn't terribly excited about the prospects and the opportunities. They were more of the same. Mm-hmm. And I was at the stage of my life when I wanted something different and I wanted to make a difference. And so I felt like probably the best way to do that for me was to start my own business. Now that's scary. I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
I have 2 kids, didn't have another breadwinner in the household. So how do you do that, right? Mm-hmm. So I had to tap into savings, and thankfully I got some severance when I got laid off, but reinvented myself and put myself out there and started labeling myself a pay negotiation coach and put myself out there in front of employers as a compensation consultant. And here we are today, 8 years later.
Yeah. Well, and it's so interesting. I mean, it does take a real leap of faith to actually decide you're going to start your own business. So in hindsight, looking back, what was maybe the most consequential or the hardest decision of deciding that, in fact, you weren't going back to corporate America?
Healthcare. Right? Like here in the U.S., we have healthcare tied to who your employer is. So to jump off that train and not have a steady income, not have retirement savings through a 401k or a pension plan, not having healthcare readily available, I had to figure that out. And I also recognized, while I have an MBA and have worked for large Fortune 500 companies, I didn't know how to run a small business.
Well, right. Nobody does, actually.
Nobody does,
yeah,
right?
It's
Until
like having children.
You don't know what you don't know, right? And we don't really tell the truth about kids or running a business.
Or entrepreneurship, right.
Yeah. So
the dirty little secret.
The dirty little secrets behind the scenes. So I invested in some coaching and some a master class with some people to understand, how do you build out a niche? How do you do the marketing? How do you make the sales? How do you do business development? How do you set up tech so that you can optimize and make things happen so you don't have to hire an assistant right away? When do you hire an assistant and add to headcount to your team instead of being an entrepreneur of one? When do you bring in people? So I had to learn all of those things. And so I was grateful I had some savings and I had some ability to invest in myself and get some insight from people who'd been there before me. And I surrounded myself with lots of female entrepreneurs because, frankly, working by yourself after you come from a big company and just working from home on a business is pretty lonely too. So
well, that's right.
I embedded myself into some amazing female entrepreneurial groups here in Denver.
Well, and it's funny because thinking back to the time in which you and I met on a professional level, we were introduced from, it was either Amy Douglas or Kendra Moore.
Kendra.
Was it Kendra? Both?
They're both.
I think both.
Yeah.
Both impactful. I need to invite them on the podcast. I'll do that.
Yeah, they'd be great.
And at that time, my business was going through a substantial need because I was spinning too many plates. So as my own entrepreneur, I had an assistant that had been with the company for 13 years. And when she left, I realized quite how much she was doing.
Yeah.
And in the 13 years that she had been working for me, I had 3 children. Mm-hmm. And so by the time she left, I realized that she had beat me into the office and had stayed later than me in the office for what at the time was like 5 years. So my assistant had been really doing so much operations in the business that I wasn't aware of. And so when that relationship had run its path, and she was gone, I had to reinvent the way I was going to hire people. And that's when you stepped into my life.
And all the processes and documenting things. And I remember looking at lots of documents and helping you get things tidied up so that you had ways to delegate.
And so the long way around the barn I was going to tell my little anecdote was that you also got this lens into these other people's businesses. So because of the consulting that you were doing, you got to come into my business and we built job descriptions. We literally built job descriptions together for every seat on the bus.
Yep.
Imagine, they were, in some cases, they were...
Imagining.
Imagining.
It was job design and designing,
That's
okay,
right.
when's the handoff and who does what and when does it come to me and when should I approve something? How much discretion do they get versus how much do... Yeah.
And so we built all that together.
Yeah.
And so the gift you got too was that the nature of your business was that you got to go into people's businesses and learn how to run a business.
And I'm still getting to do that, right? Like I work now with employers who have less than 50 people, startups. I've got one client right now that's a data center funded by the Koch brothers, and amazing. I've worked in large Fortune 500 companies that have data centers, but this is a small startup with less than 100 employees. And then I've got a water nonprofit that I get to work with, where they're making sure that we all have clean water around the world, and having an impact in that space. And I'm working for the same mining company I left when I got laid off, and I get to work with them, right?
That's oftentimes what happens, right?
But I get to see in my job how work is done, what are the jobs, what's the reporting relationships, and how do businesses make money? It's fascinating. I consider myself... if I step away from that HR tag or the compensation consultant tag, I think of myself more as a business consultant who specializes in rewards and recognizing employees for good work versus somebody who's solely focused on the HR or compensation realm. I really am trying to help businesses run more smoothly and run effectively.
I'm curious about compensation. I feel like has changed over the generations. In fact, I was just having this conversation recently with somebody about we were talking about the significant move away from pensions.
Yes.
And how, well, that's going to have its own consequences later. But I wonder, I've seen, now you see like people putting ping pong in their offices or like
perks.
Massage chairs or some of these other things. And so compensation, or the way people want to be compensated, isn't always just financial. So much of it is time against money. And so what are some of the places that you're seeing people really negotiate now that are super helpful to both the employer and the employee?
So I'm going to go backward in time. When COVID hit in 2020, suddenly we were all forced to work from home, right? As we got more and more information about the virus. Eventually, most of us got pulled back into work, and we're now in a workplace situation most of the time where employers expect you to be back in the office.
Yeah, or hybrid anyway, or there's much more flexibility than there was maybe before.
But there still isn't as much 100% remote work as there once was.
Oh, yeah, I think
there's
that's
still a lot of employees who want that, right? So what I'm seeing people want to negotiate when I do pay negotiation coaching, it's that flexibility to work from home, to have more time remote working versus being in the office. So that's something I'm seeing.
How do you reconcile that though with the company, right? Which is like people need to be productive in the time that they're expected to be there working.
Yeah. And I think some people can be productive from home, and I think some people can't. Right? Like, and it's not necessarily, different jobs have different needs, of course, but there are certain personalities that can drive themselves and be productive from home, and there are certain folks who can't.
Can you disc profile for that, or can you personality trait assess that, or is that an accessible trait?
That is, to me, putting somebody in the situation and then monitoring their work productivity and seeing if they're actually producing quality work. I don't think there's a disc profile or one of those tests that would really point you to being clearly able to identify that in advance of being able of working with somebody.
Yeah, I think honesty is the quality trait. Somebody, like I can just be honest that I actually don't work well from home.
And that's fair. Like I do think for some people that's difficult, and it is a skill to keep yourself motivated from home. I think the other piece that I see people longing for as employees is feeling like they matter and not being treated like they're just a cog in the wheel.
What are ways that employers can do that?
Saying thank you. Oh, I see you doing X. That was really great. I loved how you interacted with a XYZ client and how they responded with XYZ. That was really awesome. Can you bring that up in the next staff meeting so the rest of the team can learn from you? Like there's things that you can do on a day-to-day basis, catch people doing really good stuff, compliment them, and then share it. Make sure that people know what they're doing well, catch it in a timely manner. Don't wait a week to give them that feedback. I think being noticed for doing good work is oftentimes not something that happens in the workplace. You can give somebody a healthy paycheck, good benefits, and all of those things, but that's a reminder on payday or when they have to use those benefits. But it's really the interactions and the relationships you build at work that make a difference.
Yes.
Right?
I once had a friend who said that people are rewarded in only 3 ways: security, recognition, and money. And so, sometimes, I jokingly always said I never knew how much money I had in the bank. I just wondered if I won the prize. I never really
money motivated, but the recognition was a big deal for you.
Yeah, I was not money motivated. In fact, I was recognition motivated.
And that's how I am as well. As much as I talk about money a lot, I want the kudos. I want the thank you for helping me with that. The attaboys. Right. That's what I want.
So it would be interesting in one's workplace to know, is this client in fact motivated by security, which is I need a paycheck every other week. And sometimes people will just say that.
Yeah. Like it's safety and security.
Yeah. I just need a paycheck every other week because that's how I know how to be comfortable. That's what puts my feet firmly on the ground. Yep. And some people are like,
I need more than that.
I just want to be paid all the money, and I don't care if you give me a prize, and I don't care when it comes. It just has to come.
Sales, and I'm like riveted on that, and I want to hit those goals, and that's my deal. Yeah.
So some of it is the recognizing who you have in the seats on the bus too, right?
And you have to get to know your people. I think, I have worked with people who they just want continuing opportunities to grow their skill set. It's not necessarily about the money. They feel pretty safe and secure, but they're really about growth, and they're really about opportunity to contribute in a different manner and variety. Sometimes that's what people need.
Oh, for sure. That makes sense. And it's interesting that you say that. I see that in my own organization where some people's speed of growth is faster than others.
Yeah.
And so then that's a cadence of the entrepreneur, of the owner.
Yes.
That is hard because you don't know if you're going to bring somebody in and the cadence is going to be slow and methodical and good, or fast and good, or whatever. Sometimes it can be fast and bad, or whatever.
For the next level of work that you can create for them to contribute to, if you want to keep their butt in the seat and keep them productive. But then there are some people who are perfectly fine with doing the same process, the same thing, day after day, year after year. God bless them. I can't do that. I got to have variety. But there are some people who are perfectly content in that world, and that's great. Yeah. There are some jobs that require that.
I suspect in your line of work, you've spent time negotiating the way people leave as much as the way people come.
Sure.
And I also suspect you have some expertise in like career burnout. Is that a real thing? Do people experience this? What's it like? And how do you advise around not just compensation, but leave compensation or burnout like how does that work for corporations? How do you help
people? So there's leaving, meaning the employer invites you to leave, right? Because there's a performance issue. That's not regrettable turnover. That's the employer's letting you go. But if you are at the point where you can't stomach, I always think it's the Sunday night blues. If you've got a Monday through Friday job, if Sunday night your stomach's in knots and you don't want to be thinking about work because work is miserable, you probably have to make a change. And as an employer, as an entrepreneur, you have to take the temperature of your team. We interview people when you're trying to fill a position, but you should do stay interviews and ask people, what keeps you here? What are your pain points right now? Is there anything that's getting in the way of you getting good work done? Are there any resources you need? Having open and honest dialogue around their work and how they're getting it done, and if there's anything getting in the way, is really important. Because you got to take the temperature to see, are they burned out? Are they just frustrated because they aren't, maybe they don't have some piece of software that would make a big difference in getting their job done? Or maybe there's something going on at home. Sometimes we have people that we work with who have a partner who has cancer, or a kid who's going through something major like a mental health crisis.
Or any variety of wild things that could be dragging their personal life down.
And if this person isn't open and, forthright within the workplace, which they don't have to be, of course.
Yeah, what's the appropriate way for an entrepreneur to handle something like that when an employee is having a significant challenge at home? Whether that's self-created or not self-created, It doesn't matter almost.
Because you bring it with you to work, whether we try to compartmentalize it or not, it's still, you carry it with you. I think when I think about times when I've had crises at home, and some of those things.
Sure.
So my husband had cancer and was diagnosed with cancer when he was 38.
Wow.
He has been gone now since 2011. So we had an 11-year journey after he was diagnosed of him in and out of the hospital. He had tongue cancer.
Wow.
Very odd to be diagnosed at your late 30s. But when I look back and I see how that impacted my work performance, I had some managers who were really good at asking me questions like, what's going on? You seem a little off. And they got me to open up, and I shared. I had other people who, when my performance wasn't quite where it should be, who didn't ask the questions. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they were just unaware, didn't care. I don't know, but if they would have,
or didn't want to pry,
maybe,
or felt there was a boundary there, maybe not to cross. There was a boundary,
maybe they didn't want to cross. But if they would have asked me, I probably would have opened up, and they could have understood more and probably helped me navigate my life in a way and navigate work in a way that would have helped me juggle more things more efficiently and effectively. But ask the question. If the person wants to open up, they will. If they don't, they don't.
Mm-hmm. It's appropriate, though, for an owner to say to their employees, like, is there something going on? Is there anything I need to know about?
Is there anything I need to know about? You just seem off. You seem a little distant. I'm just checking in to make sure that if you need something, you can ask me. Mm-hmm. And let the space happen. Mm-hmm. Let the quiet happen, and let them share what they want to share.
As a small business, I constantly feel like I want to continue to offer more and more. Like, I am inclined to be like, yeah, you can work from home, or yeah, I can just pay you more, or yeah, I can just give you a bonus, or sure, I could buy you that software, because you want people to stay, because replacing people in a small business is costly. Very challenging. Yeah. That's probably true in every business, right?
It is. You have to be careful. You don't want to set precedent, because if you have a similarly situated person, you want to be able to say and do the same thing for them, right?
But this is my problem, is then I'm just like, yes, no, wait a second, what have I done?
So when you feel yourself wanting to say yes to something, my advice is slow down, think about it. What is the criteria that's making you want to say yes? And would you apply that same criteria to somebody else?
Yes.
Would you be okay with the same expense for somebody else in a similar situation? If you are, fantastic. Treat similarly situated people in the same way. But if you aren't, then hold back and try to come up with some other alternatives that might be useful to help that person out. But that doesn't kind of put you in a place of setting precedent that you can't say yes to in the future.
Who are your, the people that stand out for you when you look back on your transition into entrepreneurship, mentors, or somebody that, and not even maybe just in business in general, in your professional life, when you look back and that person said the thing or did the thing that impacted you, who is that for you?
There are a couple people who come to mind. One is Amy Douglas. You mentioned her earlier. Mm-hmm. She's very smart, savvy businesswoman, has worked in consulting for a long time. I've worked with Amy not only when I was in the gold mining company I was before I started my business, but I have worked with her as a subcontractor, delivering HR kinds of work, and she's just become a good friend. But Amy is one. There's another person here in Denver called Megan Contour. She's a marketing guru, and she runs the Dames. It's an entrepreneurial women's association. Do you know about the Dames?
You've brought it up to me before, yeah.
Fantastic organization, and she's got chapters all around the U.S. Then there is Cammie Gildner, who is also
I know Cammie Gildner. Do we know Cammie Gildner? I should interview her too.
She's amazing. Yeah.
She is amazing.
She's amazing. So strong marketing background, but she helps female entrepreneurs with their business, helps them grow their business. But she comes from a very heart-centered kind of spirit approach. So it's not.
I did her 2-day Soul Speaks.
Did you?
Of course.
Yeah. I've done the Soul Speaks as well. It's a pretty cool way to gain
confidence
on the stage. Yeah. Like I can step on any stage without notes and I'll be fine.
I love it. Let's talk about that because that's interesting to me. So you have done a thing I want to do, and so you can be my mentor. Cool. Which is you've built a little bit bigger of a speaking business.
I have.
Talk about how that's going, how you've built it, and some challenges along those ways.
Yeah. So one of the things I invested in when I started my business was getting some coaching from entrepreneurs who had been there before me. And one of the ways they said you can get business is to be on stage, speaking in front of groups. And so I set a goal of having 2 to 3 speaking events a month.
That's heavy. It's a lot.
It's a lot. Mm-hmm. But I will tell you, it forced me to look at the world and find groups of people that had my potential clients in it.
Yes.
And it forced me to develop thought leadership and presentations that showed my expertise, and it forced me to have a point of view. And so I became more articulate. It was a testing ground too. What topics, what opinions of mine landed with the audience, which ones didn't, what kind of questions did I get asked? And I still do speaking engagements. The 8 years now, and I still try to do 2 to 3 speaking engagements a month. Some of them are virtual now, some versus always being in person. I've spoken at conferences. So it's a matter of speaking to an audience, and then I always ask people at the end of my speaking events, do you know of other groups that I should be speaking in front of?
Right. Yeah.
And I continue to ask that question.
The perfect script for the perfect entrepreneur is that. Do you know anybody else I can be helping? Yeah.
Do you know anybody else who might need my services?
It's so good.
Just ask the question.
So good. It's good for every entrepreneur to know that, because everybody who's hustling a business, if they're serving somebody, there's somebody behind them. We know in real estate everybody knows 3 to 5 people that will make a move this year.
Yes.
Yes. So if you don't ask,
shame on me. You won't get the leads, right?
That's right.
You should build a pipeline of referral partners, of people that you stay in touch with that are maybe servicing the same clientele that you want as a customer.
Yes, or circling the same universes.
Exactly, so that you can refer people back and forth, and to have a referral network where you can point people to experts that you believe in and that you're confident are going to give great service. Fantastic.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, even just doing the podcast. There's this layering that happens around business and friendship.
Yes.
And it's been so wonderful, actually. And I'm such a connector that I love it, because I like to be like, who you should know is this. And so there's this triangulation, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon that happen.
And I would argue in Denver, it's about 2 to 3 degrees. Like, it doesn't take much when you start running in some of the more influential circles here. You'll keep running into the same people.
What's your advice for getting in, like if you're a small business, how do you get into a bigger room?
I think there are lots of ways to do that. One, you can look at building connections with other business owners, right? Referral networks and so forth. I think you can do that. 2, providing excellent service to your current customers, and then asking them the question, who else do you know who might need my services?
That's right, yeah.
Right? I firmly believe speaking is from the stage, while it might be nerve-wracking and something that makes people quake in their shoes, it is a phenomenal way of growing your own skills and growing your perspective and thought leadership, and forcing you to step outside of your comfort zone. And you need those skills when you're trying to make a sale.
Yeah.
You need those skills as you're trying to develop leads. So I think those are 3 tangible ways you could go about it.
Yeah, I love it. I see you have a lot of notes. I gave you some questions, and you have a lot of notes. I was going to ask about, maybe some of your best piece of advice or other things that circle your business. So wherever you want to take it.
One of the things there's some other people in the room with us today helping us film and record. And one of the things we started talking about was AI and how technology is impacting the workplace and how work is getting done. And that has been something that I have been spending more of my free time exploring and trying to get an understanding of, because I think we're on the precipice of having some radical changes in our work lives.
I think that's right.
Whether you're an entrepreneur and running a business, whether you are an employee employed by somebody, whether you're a solo entrepreneur, we need to be paying attention, and we should be forcing ourselves to play with some of these tools to get a sense of how it could potentially help us produce work that is high quality and that can help us produce more work in a more efficient, quicker way.
How are you using it in your business?
I use it all day, every day long.
Yeah.
All day, every day. I write a blog post every day. I use that on LinkedIn. I use that on Facebook. I use that on my YouTube channel, Compensation Talk. I create videos with them. It helps me write those. I created a custom GPT on ChatGPT that helps me write. Now, I fed it the blog post.
So it starts to know you. It starts to talk like you.
It starts to know you. And I pointed it to videos and websites and sources that I trust.
Yes.
So that it pulls in information that I trust. Now, you still have to double check numbers and you still have to double check things because AI can hallucinate and can send you things that aren't accurate, right?
Like a robot.
Like a robot. It's not 100%.
Yeah.
But it certainly has sped up my efficiency. I had one client this last week on Friday ask me to create an executive slide deck to teach her leaders, where do you find data on what employees should be paid? Where does that data set come from? How is it created? How often is it updated? How should you utilize it? How should you interpret it? With the use of AI, I created that in an hour and a half, which it probably would have taken me 4 to 5 hours had I not used AI.
Well, that, or you have the knowledge, but it draws the skeleton, and then you can put the muscle and the skin on it. And so in some ways, that's the benefit is it's not that she couldn't have just done it herself.
I could have done it.
Yeah.
But it sped it up. It sped it up. Outline, and it made me think of things that I hadn't thought of before. Because I asked it questions after it gave me an outline. I said, what is not in here that an executive might ask about? What answers would you give to those questions? And it wrote it, right? So that's an example. I also had, trying to think of some other things that I've done.
I can tell you one way I'm using it. Right.
Oof.
Yes. Job descriptions or real estate descriptions.
Yes.
You know, it'll actually look at the pictures and describe the rooms.
See,
and
isn't
so
that
there's
amazing?
Just so many places that it'll do it. The other thing that we've been doing is, you know, with clients' permission, you can take those into client appointments. Take a Cloud, any little AI device, or even just start a Zoom and use its companion while you're in a client appointment.
Note-taking on a Zoom call. Yes.
And so you can be using some of those. And what I found is when I take that into an appointment, even if I'm intently listening to them, sometimes when I go back and listen or read the summary of the conversation, I'll have missed 3 times they said, we need to move quickly, we need to move quickly, we need to move quickly, or whatever. And it's like, they told me 3 times. Speed is important to them, or
but
whatever.
You may not have caught it because you might have been thinking about something else while you're having the dialogue, but it captured the notes verbatim, right? So you can see the frequency.
Right. It's just, and it'll take the speakers and it'll say speaker 1, and I name speaker 1 as, client 1, client 2, and myself. And all of a sudden it creates this interactive dialogue to say, Diego's going to send this to Amanda and Jenny's going to do this for Diego. And the next thing you know, you've got 3 people triangulating a conversation, and it'll create the to-do list at the end.
Isn't it? It's awesome.
Brilliant.
Yeah. It saves so much time and energy.
Yeah. Especially if you like to check stuff off or highlight it out. If you're a taskmaster.
I love that.
That's funny. Yeah. So I think you're right, though. I think that the future of, and I just think businesses who want to look away from AI, it would be like not choosing to use a computer in 1992 to put your database into a computer. It's equivalent to that. It seems like I can still use a Rolodex. It's fine. And you're right, you can. And you don't have to get a CRM or a computer to put your people in. But that ultimately will come to harm the business now.
It may not harm it in the next year or 3 years.
Or even 10. But eventually you're going
we'll
there.
catch up with you. And I firmly believe that employers will start writing their job descriptions with the anticipation of having employees come with use cases of how they've utilized AI and tech to do their jobs better.
Well, this will make in-person interviews actually even more applicable.
Yeah.
I was listening to something and they were saying how the only way students are going to be able to get through college is going to be on oral exams, because the only way to actually test a human's proficiency is verbally. And so that there's going to be so much, call it cheating with AI, that, the only way you'll be able to get through college is on oral exams. And I think, in fact, that'll be true of a lot of professions, which is how you show up in person is going to start to have a tremendous merit.
Well, and you think about how we talk about a loneliness epidemic and how people don't have connection. Social media and tech has already caused this. I do think there will be a premium placed on authenticity and true connection.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that in many cases now. We have many people in the younger generations who struggle with making small talk, just that social chit chat you make at a barbecue or a get together. They're on their phones, heads down. They're not really interacting. I think we're going to see a premium placed on people who have the emotional intelligence skills and have the ability to interact face to face in a manner that's smooth and not disruptive. I have a daughter who's in college right now. She's got one more year before she finishes. She's studying construction management and science. I am grateful she chose that as a profession, because while I do see it being impacted, and certainly in terms of estimations and planning and working with subs and so forth, I see how tech and AI is going to impact that. The reality is actually getting a building built is still a craft and still something where you have to be physically doing it, right? But I've got a 16-year-old son who I'm thinking about in 2 years, he'll graduate from high school. Where do I point him in terms of careers and educational steps after college that might not place him in a situation
that aren't going to be eliminated.
That are going to be eliminated or aren't going to change drastically, right? And so we've talked military, we've talked trades, we've talked different college, courses and different degrees and so forth, but still TBD, and there will be jobs that we don't even know about yet that will be in place in 2 years because of tech. So,
well, and I suspect your clients will be coming to you with these questions about, what are the threats AI poses to my industry?
Yeah.
And I do think that's right, because there are some jobs that could probably pretty easily be eliminated.
They'll be eliminated. I do think a lot of entry-level jobs are going to go away because AI will take the place of some of those. There's a ton of talent right now. People code. A lot of IT jobs, people have been laid off. There's a lot of coders out there looking for work, and that used to be a sure thing to have a computer science degree. I was
going to say, just
but now not so much.
It's kind of like I have a cousin who was a day trader.
Yeah.
And he was actually on the show, Peter Nowicki, and he said that, in fact, basically technology put the day trade out of business because it could trade faster than he could at that point.
Yep.
And so I do think there's these like lurking unknown threats to every industry. You can't know what they are.
To every profession.
Yeah.
I think I will tell you, one of the podcasts that I've listened to that has been really good lately was the one by Stephen Bartlett and Diary of a CEO with 3 tech leaders. It was a 2.5 hour long podcast, which is extremely long, but it had me riveted because they brought so many things forward that I think are really important for us to think about as human beings and as entrepreneurs, and people impacting the workplace. So I do think there are thought leadership and ways to stay up on this stuff, but you have to dedicate some time to learning about it.
Yeah, it's so true. And I've just found that the work you do, everybody needs, really. Yeah. Because even if you aren't the owner of the company, you work for a company. Almost everybody works. And so everybody needs a coach. And the way technology evolves will be seen. And I think you'll be the consultant that can help bounce on some of that stuff.
I am anxious to see, as I look at pay data and give advice to executives and leaders on how they should pay their employees, I'm excited to see how technology will become an expectation in the performance of work.
Well, that's right. And honestly, if I'm paying you top dollar to do a job, you'd probably ought to lean into AI so you can do it more efficiently, because the employer's expectation of your ability to get more done.
And the quality of the work.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
You want top dollar, you're going to have to use technology in an advanced way in order to get there.
What's next for you? What are you going to keep doing, or what's your plan?
Still doing this. I still have another kid to get through college, so I have
Keep going, right?
I have a countdown for that. I'm actually in the middle of writing a book, and I'm using AI to help me with that. It's taking some of my marketing copy and some things like that, and I'm using AI and testing different tools to help me write a book. I've been writing the book for a while now, but
a memoir type, or more of a work style book?
More of a nonfiction book related to compensation conversations and some of the practices that we do behind the scenes in the HR community to help employers out. So trying to make what is a black box not so black box and hidden, trying to be more open about decisions and what we make decisions upon, so sharing more insights in that. And then I haven't even told you this, I'm starting to invest in real estate, and I've got some short-term rentals, and I'm thinking about getting some long-term rental property as well.
I love it.
So I'm starting to do some things in that space as well as I think about retirement, and then looking for my next board opportunity. I'm hoping to contribute on boards as a board member.
Yeah, where can people find you?
You can find me at prosperconsultingllc.com. I am also on LinkedIn and Facebook, and I have my YouTube channel, Compensation Talk, as well.
All right, I love it. I love it. Thank you for coming, Denise.
Thank you for inviting me.